And welcome back to the show where we talk about only good comics. I'm Brant, and this is Friday First. This is that series where we talk about those brand new number one issues, new character debuts, new story arcs, and the like. And this is for books that are coming out on February 19th, 2025. This is a big week of comics, but actually, surprisingly, not as many first as I thought there would be next week. But there are a ton of books this coming week and next week, and there were a lot of books this week. So it's one of those times where so many books are getting released. So what I do have is I have four recaps, mostly Marvel books this week. That's just what I ended up reading first. I have 10 books total to talk about as far as first go. Four of those are honorable mentions, and the other six are my rated books. And then the typical eight other books that I talk about at the end that are not first issues. So without further ado, I'm just going to dive right into this busy week, and I'm not going to waste any more time. So let's talk about the first book that I read from last week, which is X-Men issue number 11. This starts a new story arc where some Space Force has landed near Alaska, and the X-Men feel like they're coming for them. So getting into this book, didn't really know what was coming for them aside from this giant fish on the cover, which ends up being a space whale. So come to find out who is exactly running from the spacecraft that is running towards the X-Men. It's somebody that we know very well, that Cyclops knows very well, and Magic has a little bit of a history with also. And as always, this person brings trouble with him, but this time he's actually trying to warn the people of the X-Men because this force that is brought to Earth via this space whale is actually after one of their own. So I thought that was a nice twist. You had some nice humorous moments between like Magic and Juggernaut kind of joking around while Cyclops is trying to be serious. And just this team dynamic that shouldn't work really does. They gel really well. The banter is there. It's nice to have Cyclops, who has kind of a youthful new outlook on things. The way that he approaches things, it's coming from a veteran perspective. He's been through a lot of crap, but because he lived that childhood version of himself, and he still has those ties to these younger, I don't know, it's just this different kind of approach to Cyclops than we've seen before. He's still, strict. He's still, by the book, but at the same time, he's got a little bit more of an edge to him, and it also helps him kind of relate to the youth a little bit better. So he's getting, I don't know, he's getting along better with multiple kinds of people. So it's a different version of Cyclops than we've seen. Having him interact with Quentin Quire and Magic and Juggernaut all equally, and nobody feeling kind of like they're out of place, I think is a delicate balance that this book took a little bit of time to find its footing to get there. But once it got there, it's been really good since. And this was another example of that. I thought this was a really solid issue. It left you on a nice cliffhanger that makes you curious about what is coming up next and why these people are after this person, this X-Man. So yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. So this is a pretty good read. Next up, we have a book from Oni Press called Mine is a Long Lonesome Grave. This is issue 1. This is written by Justin Jordan. And this is a story of a man who got out of prison and wanted to go see his daughter. And slowly through the course of the issue, we learn why he's in jail and what kind of rift there was to his family, some tragedy that happened that kind of tore his family apart. And it's all his fault. And we also learn that there's a supernatural element to this, in like witchcraft and things like that are at play, that prevent this man from moving on with his life, because it pulls him right back into this whole mess. And now he has to clean it up with the only thing that he knows, violence. So I thought it was a pretty solid first issue. It's one of those books though that, because I've got so many books that I read and so many bigger books, that I don't know if it grabbed me enough to keep me going. But I did like the concept. I liked the delivery of it. I thought it was a pretty solid story. And if that sounds like your kind of story, and it is the kind of story I like. I like supernatural mixed with kind of down to earth, grounded kind of stories, and that's what this is. It's all about a family that's torn apart by their circumstances, by trouble that a member of that family has gotten into, that has followed him through his life and is still plaguing him and is still affecting his overall family, and all of that stuff. So it's very it's the same kind of thing that you would see in like a Supernatural or whatever. So that is my kind of story. So I really did like it. I just don't know if I'll be able to stick with it right now, but it's definitely something I'd probably seek out and trade, especially if I hear that is continues to get better as it goes. So I do recommend it if this is your kind of story. Next up, we have Eddie Brock, Carnage, issue 1. I didn't really know what to expect out of this book. I was kind of skeptical about it because I joked on Comic Book Weekly this week that they've tried every other symbiote for Eddie. So, they were probably sitting there and saying like, well, what's left? Oh, we haven't done Carnage. Let's do Carnage. But, in the aftermath of what went on in the last story arc, it kind of made sense. Both Eddie Brock and the Carnage symbiote were dying. They chose to bond together so both of them could live, and they kind of made this arrangement to where Eddie Brock would allow Carnage to kill, but only serial killers. So that's they basically become bounty hunters, just with the desire to kill, without, necessarily monetary recompense for it. But it's an interesting reasoning. But obviously, when you're dealing with a symbiote like Carnage, he's going to take over. He's going to take liberties. And we see that by the end of this issue. That said, I thought the structure of the story and the delivery of the story was actually really good. It surprised me a little bit how much I actually liked it. And I like this direction for Eddie. It felt more like classic symbiote stuff rather than like what we got with, recent Carnage stuff, which was a different kind of vibe because you were dealing with two twisted minds kind of bonding over their desire to kill. But this time you have a reluctant host, but a host that is so experienced that Carnage can't really act completely without his say-so. So it's an interesting dynamic that we haven't quite seen in this way yet. So hats off to Charles Soule for being able to tap into something that is a little bit new with the symbiote stuff. So I'm definitely going to come back for issue 2. We'll see if it continues to stay strong enough for me going forward. I always tend to drop off Eddie Brock books, Venom books in general, symbiote books. But we'll see if this one can keep my attention. And finally, One World Under Doom, issue 1. Been anticipating this book for a while now. Didn't really know what it was. For some reason, at some point, I thought I had read something that Doom had twisted the world into his own vision, and I kind of took that, or I interpreted that to mean something like House of M, where it was, he kind of rewrote the world, or Age of Apocalypse or whatever. But that's not what this is. This is Doom using magic and science to twist minds and kind of take over by manipulation rather than false imagery or fantasy or that kind of thing. It's actually happening. It's just we don't know exactly what he's done to gain the control that he has, but seemingly overnight he has taken control of the entire world, and now it is under his boot, and there's very little that anybody can do to stop them. In this issue, we see a collective of heroes, the Fantastic Four, Avengers, etc., coming together to try to thwart Doom's plan, but they find out that Doom has anticipated every single possible move that they could have made and outsmarted them, basically, by the end of this issue. Now, for me, I think that with the minds that we're talking about, Reed Richards, Black Panther, I don't remember if he was actually there or not, Iron Man, etc. These intelligent minds, these superior intellects in the Marvel universe, that they would have figured that Doom would have been 10 steps ahead, and they would have tried to counter that with alternative thinking, but that's not the story we were telling here. We were telling a story of Doom outsmarting everyone. So we had to play it this way. I thought that was a little odd, but I forgave it because the rest of the story kind of flowed nicely, and it was kind of a nice twist for Doom to kind of get the upper hand on everybody and outsmart these, like I said before, these intellects that are, superior to everyone else on the planet. And yet Doom continues to show that he's just better. And I think that's interesting. It really shows how powerful a villain Doom actually is. And still through all of this, Doom believes he's doing the right thing. He doesn't believe himself a villain. He believes himself a savior. Just takes a different tact than heroes would. So I still think that's very interesting. And it is political, and it does tie into some stuff going on in the world in a much more fantastical way, which makes it a little bit more fun, I guess, to view. But at the same time, underneath it, you're like, oh, that's, it does give you some vibes, right? So, but I thought this was a really fun and solid start to this story, and I can't wait to read more of this. So that's all the recaps I have. Let's get into our honorable mentions for the week. First up, we have from Dynamite Entertainment, Darkwing Duck issue 1. This is a brand new series taking place in the formative years of Darkwing Duck. So basically Darkwing Duck year 1, I guess, something like that. So I think that's interesting. If you've been enjoying the Darkwing Duck stuff, the franchise stuff that Dynamite has been doing, you might want to check this one out. It is, it's one of the better ones in this vein that they've done. I think the Darkwing Duck stuff in the past. I don't know the creative team. Let me see if I can look at that real quick. The creative team here is Daniel Kibblesmith, who has done Black Panther versus Deadpool, Loki, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and the art is by Ted Brandt and Rose Stein, who did The Mighty Captain Marvel, Tales of the Titans, Beast Boy. So some experience there, and some experience across the board with doing varied content and stuff. If the cover is any indication, it's going to be very kind of in line with Darkwing Duck and everything. And so yeah, I mean, he's a Batman type character, so why not do a year 1 type story? It makes sense. So there you go. Next up is Stranger Things, Dungeons & Dragons, The Rise of Hellfire, issue number 1. It's a brand new series that is a prequel to the events of Stranger Things season 4. Eddie Munson's rise to the leader of the Hellfire Club is chronicled here, as you can see him on the cover, as he recruits Lucas, Dustin, and Mike, and they get glimpses into this fantasy world that they conquer together. So this is a prequel to everything that happened. So it's between season 3 and 4, basically. So if you really like season 4 and you're a D&D fan, you'll want to go and check this one out. And the ones that I've read, I haven't read all these Stranger Things series. I've liked a couple of them really well. Some of the ones that were telling stories of cops and stuff like that weren't as interesting to me. But this one sounds like it's right up my alley, and I might have to check this one out. Next up, we have Miles Morales Spider-Man issue number 30. Just mentioning this because this is the first issue in the Miles side of this Deadpool crossover. So we saw at the very end of the last issue of Deadpool that they had Spider-Man in their sights, and now we are continuing that story here as Miles is finally in a new arc that is not involving him trying to control, his bloodlust and doing all that. So now he is being hunted by both Deadpools. And finally, from IDW, we have Godzilla Heist issue number 1. And this is written by Van Jensen with art by Kelsey Ramsey. And this is the opening line for this says, "What if you could predict when and where Godzilla would appear? What if you knew of the perfect opportunity to pull off the heist of the century?" So someone has figured out how to tell when Godzilla is going to rise and is going to take advantage of that. So that's kind of an interesting twist on, the Godzilla stuff, telling the story of this person that is just like, hey, I'm going to steal some stuff while people are dealing with this this giant monster, rampaging around. So that's pretty cool. So if you're a Godzilla fan, you want to check this one out. So now that's all our honorable mentions. Let's get into those rated books. First up, we have from Dark Horse Comics, we have Let This One Be a Devil, issue 1. This is by James Tynion, another horror story by James Tynion, and this is basically the birth of the Jersey Devil. Where in the 1900s, this guy Henry Naughton returns home to this place in the swamp, and he uncovers the legend of the birth of the Jersey Devil. So this is actually it's kind of funny. This one, I actually wrote a short story about the Jersey Devil that was published in an anthology years ago. Some friends of mine approached me, and I did this like 4-page, I think it was a 4-page story about the Jersey Devil. So I researched it a little bit. So this is interesting to me, and especially from James Tynion, who knows horror really well. So yeah, I think this one has some interesting points to it, right? Especially if you're a Jersey Devil fan, if you like myths and that kind of stories about like the Chupacabra and the Jersey Devil and stuff like that. So if you're into that, you'll want to check this one out maybe, and especially if you're a James Tynion fan. For me, I'm going to give it a possibly good, just because not all of Tynion's independent horror stuff has been really my cup of tea, and I don't know if this one will be or not. And also because I have such a big haul, I don't know if this one will make my list this week. But if you do check this one out and you really like it, let me know. One I will be checking out, though, is from Dynamite Entertainment. It is the Herculoids issue number 1. Still tapping into those 80s franchises. This was a cartoon in the 80s, just like Space Ghost, etc. So this is definitely harkening back to my younger years, my formative years. And yeah, I watched Herculoids all the time. So I'm definitely going to check out the first issue and see what it's all about, see how they handle it. This is written by Tom Sniegoski, who did Vampirella and Hellboy, with art by Craig Russo from Batman Beyond and Gotham Adventures. So definitely has the artistic chops there. I'm not familiar with Tom's work. I don't read a whole lot of Vampirella and no Hellboy, so I'm not familiar with the writing style or anything. But I'm definitely going to check this out. The cover looks pretty cool, and they've done a good job with other franchises. Space Ghost is phenomenal, so I've got hopes for this one, and I'm going to give this one a potentially good. Next up is Thunderbolts Doomstrike issue number 1. As we continue the One World Under Doom storylines, I'm looking forward to reading more in this world. This is by Kelly and Lansing, so they have been handling everything Bucky Barnes and all that stuff for a while now. But this also has Black Widow in it, and Black Widow was there in One World Under Doom issue 1, and kind of doing her thing, and now she is here with Songbird, U.S. Agent Sharon Carter, and some other wild card characters. So I'm really curious to see what their mission is, what their parameters are, how they're going to attack this problem. So I'm definitely going to check this one out, and I'm going to give this one a potentially good as well. Rolling along with that Doom train, we've got Doom Academy issue 1. This is Doom's version of Strange Academy, which I think is pretty cool. I don't know if we're going to have, it does say it's the start of the second year for the Strange Academy kids. So we know that some of them are going to be there. Things aren't going to go as planned. Obviously, they've been relocated from New Orleans to Latveria. And so, yeah, I'm a big Strange Academy fan. I loved those kids and the stories that we got featuring those kids. So I'm really curious about this one. We do have a different writer on this one that I'm not familiar with at all. This is written by Mackenzie Cadenhead with art by Pascal Ferry. So I am familiar with the art, but the writing I'm not. Hopefully it is everything I hope it is. This is a 40-page book for $4.99. I'm excited about this one, though, and I'm definitely going to check this one out, and I'm going to give it a potentially good just because I'm not familiar with the writer. Next up, we have the subject of our thumbnail this weekend, our title, Zatanna, issue 1. She has gone back on tour. She's gathered her original stage crew back together. She's trying to do the thing, and then they start getting abducted by this ghostly force named the Lady White. And so now Zatanna has to figure out what's going on there and how to thwart this new ghostly predator that is kidnapping all her friends. This is written by Jamal Campbell, also illustrated by Jamal Campbell. So the preview that we saw in the back of the books this past week looks really good. The art is superb. The story, the preview wasn't enough to give me to know if I'm going to like this or not, but I'm excited to check out this first issue. Always excited to get more Zatanna, and I'm going to give this one a promisingly good based on the art alone, really, honestly. So, but I do have faith in the book. And finally, we have Weapon X-Men issue 1. This is also taking place under the One World Under Doom banner. In this issue, there is a mutant rescue mission that is taking place, and the possible culprit could come from within. So these individuals, Wolverine, Deadpool, Cable, Chamber, and Thunderbird, are brought together by circumstance, and their only mission parameter is no mercy is allowed. So we're going to see what happens with that. Oversized issue, 32 pages, $4.99. This is written by Joe Casey with art by I think it's Crisscross. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited about this one as well. But it's going to be an interesting story to see how these individuals come together. Obviously, some of them have a lot of history with each other, Wolverine, Deadpool, and Cable. And when you combine those forces that are unleashed, only, bloody things can happen. So I'm excited to see how this goes. I'm going to give this one a promisingly good as well. And that is all our first this week. So I will now talk about those other books that I am anticipating. I mentioned Space Ghost a couple of times earlier. Space Ghost issue number 10 is coming out, so I'm excited about that one. The lead line of the description for this one is Space Ghost doesn't kill. There's this dark, shocking figure from the future that presents a new threat to the team. So actually this could be considered, it's a brand new arc, so I could have put this in the first. So this is another one that I'm excited about. If you've been enjoying the Space Ghost series as much as I have, you're going to want to read this issue. Aliens vs. Avengers, issue number 3. This book really surprised me. The first 2 issues of this were really, really good. I'm not an Aliens fan, but the way that this story was told and how there's just a handful of superheroes left, and they are the last hope for Earth. And it's been years and years and years, and they're aged, and they don't, they're just not what they used to be. And yet they're so defeated and beaten down, but they just won't quit. I love the story we're telling about the superheroes, the Marvel superheroes in this story. And I think it's just been brilliantly structured. Hickman's done a wonderful job with this. Esad Riebik's art has been phenomenal in this book, so I'm really looking forward to the next issue of this book. Wonder Woman number 18. Wonder Woman is finally off the sidelines. She's had, the Wonder Girls do their systematic takedown of whatever his name is. I can't think of the villain's name. The guy above the president, the king of America. That's what it is. And everything. But now she is headed back to the battlefield. And now, I'm curious to see how this is going to go. She's going to battle with the cheetah again. And it's been a good read as well. And I'm excited to see how things go now that Diana is back in the fray. Ultimate Wolverine issue number 2. Issue 1 was really good. This version of Wolverine is, the most feral version, but also kind of realizing, I think, slowly what is happening and that he's killing people that he knows and all this stuff. So, but this is a Wolverine that is also the Winter Soldier that is under the control of Omega Red, Colossus, and Magic. So, that's just, it's crazy. And the art was really good too. So I'm looking forward to this issue. G.I. Joe issue number 4. Cobra and Joes are in a battle to retrieve the Cybertronian tech, tying into Transformers and everything. And one of the Joes, I'm assuming Clutch, because he's behind enemy lines right now, learns Cobra Commander's secrets the hard way. Always a fan of G.I. Joe, but that sounds like some fun stuff. X Factor issue number 7, there's a new man in charge, and Angel is leading X Factor once again. So we're going to see what Angel has to do with the team. And Emperor Doom is involved with this as well, because of course this falls under the banner of One World Under Doom. In my trio of X titles here, we also have Exceptional X-Men. We are introducing a new character. Axo, the Exceptional X-Men's resident empath, goes to work for this this creator of this app, and hopes that this app can bring support to mutants and stuff like that. But this mogul is hiding a secret, actually a lot of secrets. So we're going to see how that plays out, and we're going to learn who exactly Sheldon Xenos is. And finally, Uncanny X-Men number 10, continuing after last issue, where these Sentinel dogs are attacking. And I mean, they took out one of these new outliers brutally, viciously, and graphically. And now we're going to see what, you know, the after effects of that loss is for these other kids and for just the X-Men in general. So really looking forward to this one as well. But that's it. That's all the books that I've got to talk about this week. Like I said, it's a big week. Looking forward to the books. I'm in a rush to head out of town to go set up for another convention. So, yeah, it's been a busy week. A lot of things going on. But I'm back here with you on Friday for a new episode of Friday First. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe notification bell so you don't miss any of the other episodes or other content on this channel. Of course, you can follow me across social media at Only Good Comics, or type in onlygoodcomics.com to take you right back to this YouTube channel where we talk about only good comics. Until next time, thanks for watching. Take care. Keep reading those comics, and I'll see you soon.